Bad bitches and good devil fruits. What do these things have in common? Barely anything, I just needed them for the thumbnail. But like many good looking people say looks don't matter and to be yourself, Kaido states devil fruits don't matter and to have good hockey. These are clear narrative parallels that need to be addressed. Well, the fruits thing, I'm not talking about women, I'm already down bad as it is. However, I think similar to aesthetic looks in real life, the answer on whether devil fruits matter or not lies somewhere in the middle. Now I know most of my channel doesn't go outside, so I'll tell you like this. In real life, you actually need a personality to get places. You can't just look good, go to the gym, or make money. No, it doesn't fucking work that way. Though like in reality, people tend to overrate the usefulness of either system. Well, One Piece isn't Dragon Ball, and devil fruits give nuance to the series. Then there's the people on the other side, hockey transcends all because Kaido said so. I'm here to say both perspectives are equally right and ass at the same time. I'll start on the first conception, this idea that One Piece is some 4D IQ series which doesn't rely on simple scaling. The main source people pull this from is pre-time skip. As we all know, PTS One Piece is quite non-linear. The Straw Hats do become a tad more powerful with each event. However, back then, you really couldn't say things such as Moria beats Crocodile because he fought a stronger version of Luffy. Devil Fruits gave Oda an out in that they allowed for interesting encounters that didn't come down to whose power level is stronger. I described this in a smaller vid from a year ago. Pre-time skip leans more towards soft magic. Basically, the rules of each power is somewhat ambiguous and the outcome of every battle is not determinate. For example, Zoro unironically performs worse against Enel than Nami does, yet that is only due to her specific ability. Most of pre-time skip is structured as such, which is why people have the idea of One Piece being this ultra strategic Hunter x Hunter intelligence level series, but it really isn't. First off, the most intricate conflict you'll get in One Piece is the Zoro and Nami thing I described. They're just type matchups with rarely any Naruto or JJK level strategy. It's just that in One Piece there are far more characters with all of them having a different ability, which makes it seem bigger than it actually is. In addition, Oda cleverly masks the moments of simple Dragon Ball-like power increases. The shining example is of course the main character. Throughout pre-time skip, Luffy gets definitively more powerful only 3 times. From chapter 1 up until Alabasta, he is not trying. He definitely gets stronger from fighting Crocodile, yet you can't really say the same for other villains until CP9. Luffy not only became 5 times stronger in base form, but also needed new transformations with gears. Then he pushes his limits again by combining these gears to fight Moria. By the end of the time skip, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji could speed blitz / one-shot Enel or Crocodile with no difficulty. It just doesn't seem like such because Oda gave the impression that everyone can beat anyone if the conditions are right. It's why I hate it when people say, Oda doesn't care about power scaling, even though he does it better than most other authors. In another series, Luffy would have just gotten greater by defeating the bad guy in every arc, but no, this is One Piece where many times the Straw Hats are the strongest characters on a given island, yet Oda still keeps the story extremely engaging by holding them back in some sort of way. That's a different discussion, but you get the idea. Although it does have nuance, even in pre-time skip, One Piece was not very intricate. I've always heard the expression of just because A is greater than B and B is greater than C doesn't mean that A beats C. I'd say that statement is only half true for pre-time skip. However, it became irrelevant when Haki was introduced. Haki was a very controversial move for Oda to make. On one hand, it retconned many of the more powerful characters we saw pre-time skip, such as Ace or CP9, while on the other, he streamlined the power system whilst also destroying the dynamic interactions his fights could have. From the moment it was introduced, Haki has been described / shown to be the greatest power in the world. It counters Devil Fruits directly and can be applied to any combat style. Narratively, it makes sense because if characters like Enel or Blackbeard can skip their way to the top by sacrificing the ability to swim, then Zoro or Shanks should also be able to get there through sheer willpower alone. It's only fair. Though within the world of One Piece, it makes things very linear. Haki can render fruits or miscellaneous abilities null, meaning pretty much every fighter has to use it. This wouldn't be a problem if not for how it works in the first place. Haki is not only a manifestation of someone's will, but also a general energy source such as use ki or chakra. The more of it you have, the stronger you are, which boils down fights pretty easily. This trend is seen in Luffy's villains. Straw Hat overpowered Doflamingo, which means Katakuri needs greater haki than that. Then Luffy beat Cat, which means Kaido has to be even better. It's gotten to the point where Oda threw all the 5 elders at the MC to even challenge him. Of course, there are still characters who don't use haki, like the mid-tier Straw Hats. However, the invention of this power system has caused the same gradual growth from pre-time skip to skyrocket exponentially. Take Law for example. Analyzing it from a basic One Piece fan's perspective, Law goes from losing to Doflamingo, who's not even like, what, 3rd commander level, to fighting 2 Emperors of the Sea. One of those Emperors had Dofi sweating by the mere mention of their name, and that's all before Law awakened his Devil Fruit. Trafalgar would one-shot Dofi today, and again, that's from a surface level perspective, not even looking at all the actual context. However, there's another side to this, as during the rooftop fight, the same Emperors mentioned have so much energy they can resist Law's ranged abilities by just standing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached Bleach levels of simplicity now. If your power level is high enough, you can negate complex abilities. In fact, in the arc right after, Law resists fruit powers, meaning every character greater than him can do the same. Of course, Devil Fruits aren't completely nullified, as physical attacks that need to touch the opponent, such as Gamma Knife or K-Room, still work. However, if, for instance, Kid tries to take Zoro's swords, Zoro's just gonna straight up resist that shit. Kid would have to rely on his more stamina draining abilities like Assign. You get the idea though. As the power progression continues from here, One Piece will gradually creep into more Dragon Ball levels of scaling, solely because of how haki works. Now sure, Devil Fruits aren't completely useless, plus there are concepts like Haki Bloom to make things less one-sided, though when comparing characters outside of the story, they don't hold much weight. For example, Zoro can't beat Shanks, well actually he'll just Haki Bloom until he gets to his level. Like no, that's stupid, which is why no one argues that. Another example is King versus Katakuri. Katakuri fans like to stats pad or bring up all these different abilities he has. However, none of that shit matters because King fights and scales to people who are far stronger / faster than Katakuri. It really is that simple at this point, and all of the nuance One Piece originally had is almost gone. I say almost because we've seen that if 2 characters are comparable, then non-haki abilities do play a factor. Take Sanji versus Queen, where both opponents had multiple hacks such as invisibility or durability, making them hard to put down. There are other points as well. First off, Oda always keeps action rare and entertaining. I don't doubt he'll find some way to circumvent this problem. Second, there are sub-levels of haki to keep the system varied, like how Big Mom is leagues beyond Katakuri but doesn't have future sight. And third, again, fruits themselves are not completely useless, however it is getting to the point where only the top tier powers hold relevance. Regular Zoans or Paramecias, hell, even Logias were rendered obsolete in Fishman Island. These low tier fruits are more of an accessory now rather than a main factor in someone's overall strength. So going back to the original question, haki or Devil Fruits? Or rather, does One Piece have basic ass scaling like Dragon Ball, or is it a 4D non-linear series? Well, it seems that even in the days of pre-time skip, when the show was at its most open, there were instances of simple power progression. Though Oda still kept it engaging by placing these progressions few and far in between, instead throwing more complex obstacles at the Straw Hats. With the invention of haki, this structure was pretty much destroyed though. For the early parts of post-time skip, Oda had the Straw Hats hold back, but when Luffy faced his first actual challenge in Doflamingo, there was no turnaround. Due to how haki works, every antagonist has a higher power level, therefore forcing the main cast to get stronger in pretty much every conflict, even if they don't have haki. This has already created an insane power creep, and by the end of the series, you can expect characters like Nami or Usopp to be greater than some of the high tiers we talk about today. It's how it has to go now, though for those who are going to say, well, Oda always brings back old characters more powerful. That's not a valid argument because it's not always the case, and that's just your opinion on what should happen for a specific character. In fact, in my opinion, I think Whoop Slap is going to come back in the final war and fight a God's Knight.